are at the fantastic Churn Pool Fishery in the Cotswold Water Park. Now normally this lake's only open during the summer months, but because of all the recent flooding we've had, it's actually been closed to the normal trout anglers that come on, and a few of Tom's friends have had the privilege to come over and do some fishing in the winter, so which is where we find ourselves now. So absolutely awesome place to get a few bites. Me and James got here last night, got the rod set up in the dark, pretty much getting into darkness. Flinged about, and we're actually fishing over to the far bank over there because we've got a lot of water incoming. Didn't catch unfortunately last night, but talking to a few of the guys who have fished it, a lot of the fishermen coming out in the daytime, round about sort of 8 o'clock through to about 11. We managed to reel the rods in this morning, and unfortunately a couple of the rods have been crayed, especially on James's rods. He's fishing onto a more sort of gravelly patch. So we've got a few little ways of getting over the crayfish. They're not a massive problem in here, but there's the odd one or two, and if they're on you then they can be a right nuisance. So we'll show you that in a sec. I actually lost a fish this morning, so yeah, gutted about that. Just had it on for a split second and come off. But I'm sure there'll be more action today, so we'll bring it to you as it comes. Well, the weapon of choice, as always, is boilies for me. Very versatile with the cray problem in there. Anything smaller seems to get whittled away. And there is a few bream and some roach as well that go quite a good size. So 18mm to 15mm is pretty standard for myself. In the winter, I like to use a pretty soluble bait. I think that's really key going into the winter months. Sweet, soluble and spicy for me is a great combination. So just pick your boilies sort of accordingly. I'd stay away from sort of the heavier fish meal baits, being that they bring in quite an inherent oil content, and although the water temperature at the moment isn't too bad, they do tend to lock the baits up and restrict the bait from releasing. Still get eaten by carp, but the actual attractiveness in terms of flowing food signals would be limited. So one thing I do also is glug the baits as well. I find this imperatively important, especially in the winter months, putting liquid food into the lake. Nice soluble signal, and the easiest way to do that is simply using sort of some of these tight pots, glugging up the baits prior to your fishing. There's a load of 18mm in there, been in there for a few hours, they're sucking in the signals. We've got the actual dip there, and these pots are quite neat in the fact that you can drop this in. Basically the baits will be soaking permanently in this, and then you pull them out and then you've got some baits ready to go. So a great little edge there. So we're using, this is the rig, a little snowman rig, really to get around the crays as well. We've got a hardened hook bait there, really tough and durable, going to last the night, and a nice white fleck of a little 12mm pop-up. That is a little hell pop-up, and that just gives a bit of visual. This is all critically balanced, it goes down nice and gently, and then we top this off just by dipping a whole lot into the glug. I actually put the lead, tubing, everything into this, and this has a couple of functions. One is it gets the liquids out there, but also it helps anti-tangle properties as well, because you'll notice the dip gets into all the little swivels that I use and all the little hook links, and just makes that a bit more rigid. As soon as it goes into the water, it dissolves off, leaving your rig mechanics all fully functional. So there we go. We'll go onto the rig a bit later, but that's the little combination of bait that we're using for this session. Just come over to the far bank. I mentioned earlier, this is the area that we're fishing for very, very good reason. This is the stream that's burst its banks and it's coming in, and this is bringing in actually warm water. Over the last month or two, anyone can't fail to notice the very warm weather we've been having. This rain that's been coming in constantly now for the last couple of weeks is coming in at like 10 degrees. So this water coming in is warm. So as you would expect, this is a massive magnet for the fish. And what we do now is just literally, we've asked the permission of the owner, we're just going to come around, just sort of kick up the bank a little bit and turn this water into cloudy water. again, just to help stimulate the fish, and this is really effective on any venue where there's water coming in. But I do stress, we do ask the owner, because you don't want to go kicking up his bank, so we're going to do that and see if we can induce a bite. Well, this is my rig of choice. I use this for all my out and out boilie fishing. Very, very efficient. Although it looks like there's a lot going on, it's all there for a reason. Just starting in my right hand, I've got a little quick change link there, so simply can change over the rigs and change hook links if I need to. There's a little sleeve there that just helps kicks away the hook bait. Very, very important in my eyes to extend the hook link out as fully as we can. The actual material here we're using as the boom section is 20 pound IQ. Absolutely brilliant all-rounder. Goes over everything, lays over debris and all sorts, and on the bottom it's absolutely invisible. This is going up to a tiny little micro swivel that's covered in a bit of putty. The putty just helps align the hook link onto the deck, but also has another function when it's into fish's mouth. It just helps pull down that section, just aiding the hooking properties. Just goes through there, you just see there's a little tiny knot. It's a doubled over section of 25 pound mouth trap. It just means it extends the hook shank, and you can change the hook bait in a flash because it's just looped on, like a Johnny Mac sort of rig if you like, or Mickey Kavanagh. You probably have some words to say, it's probably him that's actually developed it. That goes up to a size 6 choddy. Out-turn eye, again very important sort of style of hook. Out-turn eye just helps that section become straight, and I always like to have it straight. I don't bend it at all. I find you get much more better hooking properties with a straight as opposed to a curve. And then that goes on to a tiny, the shank you just noticed there, a tiny little micro swivel with a rig ring. Brilliant flexibility for the hook bait. And then a little float stop there on the hook just to anchor everything in place, and that float stop's in a critical position. You can see now the hook is actually, everything's aligned downwards, exactly how I want it to behave in the fish's mouth. If I was to move that stop up a little bit round here, which some people do, can you see now the hook is actually flipped the other way. Now, in order for that hook bait to catch hold, the fish has got to pull from, the hook bait's got to go in the fish's mouth first, and then there has to be tension for that hook then to flip over. And I don't want that. I want the hook in the prone position for as long as possible. And by moving the stop up there, you can see automatically gravity takes over, the hook's aligning downwards. Hook bait itself, say boilie fishing, I always balance this rig so it always kicks away. A balanced bait, in this point we're having a snowman, buoyancy on top, gravity on the bottom, aligning everything downwards again. So there you have it. Nice simple little rig, really efficient hooker, and as soon as you put this in the margins, all the components pretty much disappear, so well worth a go. Well, unfortunately nothing's happened this morning. Jim has had to go, he's left now, so it leaves me here on my own. What I'm probably going to do is nip home, freshen up, have a shower, come back and do the last night, and fingers crossed there's only a couple of places where they can be. I know the lake quite well, they're certainly not where we are at the moment, so I'm going to move the rods just round and fish a couple of different areas and hopefully nick a fish. So yeah, I'm going to get on, get home and get back as soon as possible. Well, would you believe it, Jimmy had been no longer than probably 2 minutes out the gate, and I've had to give him a call to come back and to video this and to photograph this fish. I swung the rods round down into another bay. I just thought that the fish obviously not up on the area we were, put the rods down here, and literally within 5 minutes this rod's gone off on a little oily bag that I showed you yesterday, just cast out into a silty area. Had an inkling they'd probably be there if they weren't at the top end, and this is the result. So yeah, well happy to end on a fish. Going to get this fella back. I've got to get to work, I've got loads of bait to roll. So yeah, glad to finish with an absolute cracker from Churn Pool.